Good evening, everyone. As usual, we are working out technical difficulties. Producer Bailey is all over as we speak.
Yes. Can everyone hear us? Hopefully so. If you can't, just tell us and producer Bailey will get right on it and get it fixed. I know she will. She always does.
If you can't hear us now, just wait a little bit longer.
Right. Hey Terry, April, Bailey, Kristen, Sharon, Levi, Cheyenne. I hope you all are having a good night. Tonight we're going. If you guys saw, the title was "Do You Love Me?" and I guess we'll just get right on into it. So,
Oh, no conversation, huh?
I mean, we can have, hey, Whitney, I mean, we can have a little
No, I
conversation,
don't have anything to talk about.
um, so, you know, in marriage, I don't necessarily think that we ever think, well, I'm not going to say everyone doesn't ever think, but I've never really thought, like, do you love me? But I have thought things like, maybe he could love me differently. Whenever we first started this marriage thing a long time ago, I think that sometimes he didn't understand me. And so sometimes I felt like what I said fell on deaf ears, but that wasn't necessarily the case. It was just he didn't know how to love me.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys can relate. You you want a certain thing out of your spouse, and
Yeah.
they're giving you things, but it's not necessarily what you need. And you
Right.
think to yourself, why can they just not understand what I'm trying to tell them? And a lot of times when we hear one thing, I need you to show me you love me or show me your appreciation. We do it one way, but they want it in a different way. And if we don't do it the way they want it, then we're just spinning our wheels.
Yes.
Hey, Miss Dana.
Hey, Dana. So I don't know if you guys we touched on it a little bit last week, 5 love languages. I don't know if all of you have done that or some of you have done that, but we brought up last week that we like to do that like once a year because I think that my top 3 have always been the same, but they might have fell in a different place throughout the years. It really depends on what part of life you're in and what that looks like. So the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, gifts, physical touch, quality time, and acts of service. And we didn't do this until we were having an issue in our marriage. And my older sister, excuse me, my older sister, I had reached out to her and she was like, she said, read this book. She was like, it's great. And I was like, okay. And obviously, I listened to her because she's older than me. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll read the book. And I'm not a huge reader. I will read occasionally, but I just don't love it. And he is worse than me.
I was going to say,
So
you read.
yeah.
You do read. I do not. But you do read a lot more than I do.
Yeah. If I read though, it's usually
Tell Dre to worry about himself, Whitney.
what is my boss man doing wearing that hoodie? But if I do read, it's usually like a book about a specific subject that I want more information about.
Yeah.
I don't usually take reading advice from anyone else. Like, I don't, like, someone says, read this book. And I'm like, yeah, probably not. But anyway, she told me, read the book. It's good. And I was like, okay. And we did. And we learned so much
Yeah.
from reading the book. And now, whenever we do premarital counseling, we tell every single couple to read the book.
Every year.
every
Or
single
take the
year.
test every year.
Or take the test every year. So the other night after we got off here, I thought in my head, well, before we get on next time, we need to do the test. So the other night, I got on there and I saw they actually have a premium version now, which is a little different, and it was good. Like, it breaks it down a lot farther than the basic one does. It was worth the money. I didn't love the fact that we both had to pay the money.
Yeah, she sent it to me, and I clicked on it, and I was like, wait a minute. I have to pay too? And she told me, yes, stop being cheap.
Yes.
Oh
I
my
said it's for your
gosh.
marriage. You'll be fine. So, anyway, so he did, obviously. So, I had said just a minute ago, it's always been the same 3 on top. And I don't know that mine's ever not my number one has always been, physical touch. I can't think of one time that we've ever taken it and it wasn't. But the next 2 do usually change. And so I'm going to read what my premium was. So if you've taken the test before, they usually just do it out of 100%. Well, this way they did it differently. It was, I guess, each thing was out of 100%.
Yeah, they usually split all 5 into 100%. They divide it by 5 ways, and this way each individual category is on a scale of 100%.
Yes. So my number 1 is physical touch at 82%, quality time at 55%, words of affirmation 45%, acts of service 45%, and gifts 37%. And then I'm going to let Slade share his, and then I'm going to kind of go into that a little bit.
My number 1 was physical touch, 75%. I had a tie in the number 2 position between acts of service and words of affirmation at 50%. In the 4th spot was receiving gifts at 43%, and quality time was at 33%.
So my number 1 and his number 1 are the same. And I will say a lot of couples that we've done premarital counseling with, that's not the case. But luckily, that is the case for us. But just because that is our number 1, it's not the same, which is something I did like about the premium one, because it broke it down even farther. Like, it didn't just break it down and say physical touch. So it even broke down the different categories they had of physical touch. And the categories were comforting touch, which provides emotional support; romantic touch, which is like gently stroking hair, touching, kissing, etc. Affectionate touch conveys warm, tender feelings such as hugs, cuddling, holding hands. Protective touch, shielding from harm. Restorative touch, helping to rejuvenate. Expressive touch. And then playful touch, which would be like tickling or something like that. That was my 7th one. I gave you the list in order of how mine went. So my number 1, my first was comforting touch. So provides emotional support during a difficult moment. And my second was romantic touch. So, but when what was your first?
Romantic touch.
Okay, and that was my second. So sometimes, even if you're the same, that doesn't necessarily mean you're wanting the same thing. Like, I want him to hold my hand and sit close to me.
I'm going to put this where the men can understand it in the chat here. She wants hugs. I want kisses.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
that.
They're both physical touch, but I couldn't care less if she ever hugged me
right
a day of my life, but I want her to kiss me. But she wants me to hug her. You know, they're both physical touch, but there's just a difference. She could hug me every day and I'd be like, Yeah.
You're hugging me.
Why-
Okay.
You're hugging me a lot.
Yeah. And so it just goes to show that just because we have our number one is the same, we still want different things. So we still have to be mindful of those things. And my number two being quality time at 55%, that fell at number 4 on his list.
It was
So
last on my list.
oh, I'm sorry. That was 5 on his list. So that is something that he doesn't necessarily need. Like, so it's you know, when I think of quality time, you're spending time with me uninterrupted. I don't want you picking up your phone every 5 seconds. I I don't want you to be spending time doing something else when I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
That's quality time with me, which is why people joke that we go on vacation a lot. That's why we go on vacation. Unfortunately, but fortunately, we both own a business. When we are in this town, you know, we all know my dad owns a restaurant. Everyone knows me. They knew me because of my daddy. And then now I'm his wife. So if they don't know my daddy, they know him. And so it doesn't matter where we go, we run into people we know. We cannot go anywhere without running into someone we know. And so we can go to dinner, but 50 people are going to stop by the table and talk to us. It's never just uninterrupted time when we're in Dothan, Alabama.
Right.
His phone's constantly ringing. He has clients. I have clients texting me, trying to get on the books. We have 2 businesses that we are running, plus the church, and we have 2 kids. So when we're here in this element, we don't get quality time.
Yeah, we're always on the clock.
Always. So that's why we vacation. You know, my kids, that is their love language. By the way, there is a love language book for kids and teens. I recommend parents doing it. Both of my kids are quality time. And I'm a firm believer in whenever you're spending quality time with your kids, it's a one-on-one thing. I never spend quality time with both kids at one time because they're not getting all of me at that point. Now, I'll take them to eat and things like that. But Bailey and I, we go on a cruise together every single year. And we do that because as y'all know, we run a business together. So that's the only time that we can get away from everything. We're not having to talk about work or anything. You know, we can get along together and spend time together. And it's nice. And no one can come bother us because we're in the middle of an ocean and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and I mean maybe you're not in a position to where you can go on vacation once or twice a year or things like that, but you're 100% capable of going out to dinner. If you have kids, find someone to keep them. I promise someone will.
Yes.
Tabitha will. If you can't find anybody,
Slade will.
No, Slade won't. If you can't find anybody to keep her kids, just bring them to Tabitha. She'll take care of them for you guys to go eat.
Yeah,
But
I would.
there's always opportunity, and we hear this often.
Kyle loves your hoodie.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Dre, look at my boy here, Kyle. He likes the hoodie. I need to get you one. But we make time for what we want to make time for.
That's right.
If there was something you really wanted to do, you would find someone to keep your kids. You would cut out anything you had to cut out. No, I said Tabitha. Tabitha will keep your kids, not Slade. Mm-mm. But you'll make time for what you want to make time for. If you want to do something with your wife, you'll make time for that. If you want to do something with your husband, you'll cut something else out in order to make time for it. It's like if there's something you really want to buy, you will find a way to get it. And it's the same thing is true with your spouse.
Yes, and let me say this
Yes,
before
Cheyenne.
before we started going places. So we used to have young kids, obviously. So we couldn't leave our kids here for a week at the time and go on vacation together. That was not an option. And no one wanted to keep them for a week. So we would do like one night. And sometimes we would stay in Dothan, but we would take the kids. Our kids, majority of the time, stayed at our house. So sometimes my mom would come stay at my house with the kids, or we would take them to Slade's parents or whatever, or take them to my mom, whatever. But we would just do one night. That's it. If we didn't do anything but drive to Panama City, there's been times we would get a hotel room in Dothan for the night if the kids were staying at the house with the sitter.
Mm-hmm.
So even when we didn't necessarily have funds to go somewhere for multiple days, we made sure we went somewhere for at least a night just to be by ourselves.
Yeah.
And he's always been good about that, and I needed it.
Yeah.
So, and people say things like, that just doesn't come natural to me whenever they're talking about the love language that's not natural. Quality time is not natural for him because, as we saw, it fell 5th on his list. Well, as I said last week, words of affirmation didn't necessarily come natural to me. It's 3rd on my list, but my words of affirmation that I need are different than the words of affirmation that he needs. I want to feel appreciated where he needs more encouragement and things like that. Like, I'm proud of you and stuff like that. I just want to feel appreciated. Like, thank you. And so it's different, and having to figure that out is hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't say, well, that doesn't come natural to me, so I just won't do it. Because if we say that, then we're saying, even though it's not natural, like, we just don't care.
Yeah,
like,
we don't care enough to work on it. We don't care enough to change something in order to make our spouse happy. And that is so obvious whenever you feel that way. They know that you don't care enough to change anything in order to make them happy. And that's a bad place to be.
Yeah. And, we all want to love our spouse unconditionally. Even if we feel like if we feel like maybe they aren't doing or saying or acting the way we want them to, and I am not talking abusive situations, please know that. But just because maybe, they're not catering to every one of your needs or whatever that may be, doesn't mean that you shouldn't love them unconditionally. They still deserve that love. We can't say they're undeserving because they've been in a bad mood for 2 weeks. Like, that's unfair. What if it's something to do with you? Like, it's not about us when it's that situation. Like, when you're loving someone else, it's not about you. It's about the other person and what they need.
Mm-hmm.
And, the way I always think about it is, so for those of us that have kids, you'll understand what I'm saying. If your kid is just being unruly, they are not listening.
Like Producer Bailey.
Producer Bailey is great. Anyway, don't listen to him. They're not listening. They're not doing what you want. They're walking around in a bad mood and all the things. Do you love the child differently and treat them differently because that's how they're acting? No. None of us would do that. Honestly, we'd probably love them harder. We would be like, oh, they must be going through something. So if we can do that with our kids, why can't we do that with our spouse? If it's supposed to be God, your spouse, then your kids, and a lot of people don't love to talk about that because a lot of people put their kids before their spouse. I hear it all the time. But that's just not the way it's supposed to be. Now, I'm not saying if there was a bad situation, obviously, that's a whole different ball game. But I'm talking usually the way it's supposed to be is God, spouse, children. So if you love your children like that, why wouldn't you love your spouse that way?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, your kids, they're going to move out one day.
We hope.
Maybe. And when they do, it's just he and I. And if we haven't done a good job loving each other well while they're here, they're going to move out and I'm not even going to know him.
Yeah. What are you going to do when your children move out? Do you even know your spouse well enough that if your children weren't at the house, what does that relationship look like? What does it look like on a Tuesday night at 6:00 when your son's not home to watch TV with you, your daughter's not home to scroll TikTok with you? What do you do when you're sitting there beside each other in complete silence? How does that look at your house? How does that look in your life? Bailey said, probably not. Yeah, we probably don't have to worry about that, do we, Bailey?
Them moving out, that is.
Yeah. So what does your life look like without children? Because if you don't think you're going to be able to, if you can't envision it, you need to start working on it.
Yeah.
Now. Don't wait till they're gone to start working on it. You need to go ahead and do some preventative maintenance.
Yes.
And just get ahead of that because it's coming.
Yeah. And, at night, he'll watch TV with Gavin and I'll watch TV with Bailey or whatever. She and I talk about work at night, whatever the case might be. But if the kids weren't here, we would sit in there together and I'd scroll TikTok or whatever and he would watch whatever he's watching. Like, we do that sometimes. So it's not uncomfortable. Like, I enjoy being around him. He and Gavin enjoy watching the same things. Me and Bailey enjoy watching the same things. So, obviously, that's what we do right now because they're still here.
Yeah.
But if they weren't, we would obviously, it would change the way we do things, but he would probably FaceTime Gavin while he was watching whatever. And I would probably call Bailey and be like, oh my goodness, have you seen this or whatever? And then he and but we'd be sitting in the same room together, like not caring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just who we are because I enjoy him and I think he enjoys me, hopefully. But, as Christians, we can't live out of our feelings. And so if we feel like someone's hard to love or they're being difficult to love, that's a feeling most of the time. And that's something we just can't live out of. Like, maybe your partner isn't feeling loved.
Yeah.
Maybe they aren't getting the attention they need from you. So, as I said earlier, it's not always about you.
It's not always about you and your feelings. Like, get over yourself. Like, literally get over yourself, because if you live in a place of, oh, they're treating me bad when they're really not, you just feel that way, then you're going to be disappointed a lot. You have to get over yourself and just keep loving them. Like, your kids, they don't always respond the way that you want them to, like she said a while ago, but you don't love them any differently. You keep loving them. You love them right where they're at, and you need to do your spouse the same way. You need to love them right where they're at.
Yeah. And
bad mood and all.
And the thing is if we both sit around and do nothing about it because our feelings are hurt, well, now we've just caused a bigger issue.
Yeah, nothing's
Like,
going to change if nobody changes.
Nothing's
Nothing's
changing.
going to change.
And I always say there's one person in a relationship that's usually the I'm sorry person first. It's just the way it is. But you can't have both parties not be that person, because if so, then nothing ever gets solved.
And what she means by that is there's always one person in a relationship that is going to say I'm sorry first. And that's not me. I'm not that person.
It is me. Every time.
Every time. 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to apologize even if you're not wrong. And that's biblical. There's going to be times you're going to have to turn the other cheek and just take it and say, I'm sorry.
I forgive you.
I forgive you, and move on. It's just the way it is. And the only thing that stops you from doing that is your pride. So if you can't do that, you're being prideful. And I'm not that person. Like, I'll apologize for something, even if he's wrong and I know he's wrong. I'll just say I'm sorry. And we'll move on because it's what's needed.
I can't defend it. I can't say it's not true.
And there's no reason in arguing about something. My Nana used to say to me, if it's not something worth leaving over, then why are we arguing about it? And my Nana and my Papa were married over 50 years.
Yeah.
So I would say they did something right. And they got married when they were 16 years old. 15 or 16. So, and she was right. And what she meant by that was, if it's not a big enough deal that you would contemplate walking out over it, then it's not worth screaming and fighting about. Rarely do we scream and fight about anything. I would say once in a blue moon. We're both very passionate humans.
We're due for a blow up once a year.
Yeah, once a year.
Maybe.
Yeah. We're both just very, very, a lot of relationships have like one very passive person and one very not passive, very passionate person. Well, with us, we're both that way. Neither of us are very passive. People think he's passive because he's quiet, but he's not passive in the least. He's not going to let something go. And so...
Not if I'm right.
So, with that said, we have to... once a year, we're probably going to have a blow up. And it's probably over the stupidest thing, too. But as he said, 99% of the time I'm going to apologize. That 1% that I am not backing down, that's going to be the blow up.
That's right. That's a fact.
Because I'm telling him what I think, and
so it's your fault.
So it's my fault. Right.
No.
It's my fault. Because I don't apologize, so it's my fault.
Yep. Get it together.
And in marriage and life in general, there are going to be things that are out of our comfort zone back to loving your spouse how they want to be loved. It could very much not be in your comfort zone. But there are going to be several things in your life that are not in your comfort zone. Slade being a pastor, that's not in his comfort zone. Like, when me homeschooling my children, not in my comfort zone. But those were things that God called us to do, just like God called us to be together. And so that's what I'm going to do. Even though it was not comfortable when I first started homeschooling my kids. It's more comfortable now. Bailey's graduated and it's just Gavin, and Gavin's easy these days. No, there was a time he was not easy, but he is easy now. But, you know, I just did my best, which is the same thing Slade does. We just do our best. Like, even when we're not comfortable, we just keep trying, and you just keep trying to do your best. So if you're not comfortable with whatever it might be, mine was words of affirmation, I just kept doing it until it became more natural to me. And, you know, I just feel like God doesn't love us halfway.
Mhm.
So why would we love our spouse halfway? By
That's right.
not loving them the way they feel loved.
Yeah.
I have a quote that if anyone knows me, they know I love to listen to Dr. Phil. I listen to his podcast regularly. That's usually what I listen to at the gym. I listen to him and I listen to preaching. But I think he's very intelligent in the fact that he came from nothing and he's been in a marriage for over 50 years now. I think that says something, especially in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think that says something. But anyway, he has a quote. I have a lot of his quotes, I say. My kids know most of them. But this one, he says, "Husbands, you need to wake up every day and say, 'What can I do today to make that woman feel more special?' If you do that, what kind of partner do you think she'll be for you, better or worse?" And then he says, "Wives, you need to wake up every day and say, 'What can I do today to make him feel like I'm proud of him for who he is, what he does, and the things that define him as a man?'" And I think that says a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
If I'm making him feel like he matters and I'm proud of him and I like the person he has become and all of those things, then he's getting what he needs from me partly. And if he's making me feel special and safe,
Yes. So husbands, you have to make your wife feel like she's the only woman in the world. Like she's the only thing that matters to you. She's special. There's none like her. You know, God made her and he broke the mold, and that's how you have
and he
you
did.
have to absolutely. You have to continually reaffirm that. Just because you said it today doesn't mean you get to go a whole year without saying it again. You have to say it today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. You have to continually make her feel special, because if she doesn't feel special, then in turn she's not going to give you the things that you're looking for, um, to boost that ego. Like, all right, so men that are on here, you have an ego, and that ego needs to be stroked and it needs to be petted, and you need to have your tires pumped on a regular basis so that you feel good about yourself. And your wife is the one that you are looking to do that. So if you want your ego to be boosted, which if you're a man on here and you say you don't want that, I'm going to call you a liar. You want someone to tell you how great and wonderful you are. Thank you, Terry. One of us is honest on the chat tonight. You want your wife to tell you that, you know, you're the best at whatever it is that you're doing. You're the best at it.
Yes.
There's none better. And when she's telling you that, you need to be thinking to yourself, how can I make her feel special? How can I make her feel better about herself? Because once that, once she sees that you're not giving her in return what she's giving you,
Mhm.
then she's going to stop giving you what she knows you need. So pay attention, know the things that you need, but also know the things that she needs and do those things and don't stop.
Yeah, and you know, as women, we have to feel safe. That is my dad always made sure I was safe. I knew that no matter what, no matter the situation, whew, I don't know why that made me emotional. No matter the situation, that I was going to be okay because he was going to protect me. And so when I came into this, I started living with him at 19. I had lived on my own for a year prior, but I basically came from dad keeping me safe, and I was basically still a kid in a lot of ways at 19, to him who had to now keep me safe. And I will say, I've always felt safe with him. He's always been so good at making sure, no matter what, I was okay. No matter the situation, no matter what he had to do, you know, and that, and some of that was financial stability because I needed that. I came from a man who worked hard. My daddy he is a hard worker. I never had to wonder if daddy was going to make it happen because he did. And so at 19, when I started living with him, to be honest, I was scared because I was used to my dad's one of the hardest working men I know besides this one. And I didn't know what I was signing up for. But you know what? He showed me real fast that he was going to do the same thing I was accustomed to. And for that, I'm so thankful.
I told somebody today she didn't marry anything but potential because I didn't have anything else to give her.
He didn't. I made more money than he did for several years.
I was every red flag that you could possibly imagine. All of them. And somehow.
But I saw potential and I pushed him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was better than what he was going to settle for.
Yeah. That's a fact.
And I don't regret that. So, you know, we were young. Bailey just red flagged you. Coming from the red flag herself. There went the bus, Kristen. Anyway.
That bus had been run over her.
I'm just kidding. But, yeah, you know, there's something that I tell this to Bailey anytime we've talked about relationships, and I say, you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
And that's true. But not only do you teach people how to treat you, be the example of how you want to be treated. Yeah. So if you're treating them with respect and you're treating them the way they should be treated, then a lot of times they'll see that and they'll do the same. Mm-hmm. Kristen said there it was. And so it's just important. Like, you have to love and you have to love well. And keep the communication open there, though. Like, you can't get mad when they're telling you how to love you.
Love them.
To love them, yes, I'm sorry. When they're telling you what they need, you can't get mad about that. Like,
you can, but you're completely unjustified.
Yes. Like, if I come to him and say, I need you to do this, or I'm not feeling loved because of this, or whatever it might be, I'm not going to say in the beginning he heard me because we had to grow. But since we've grown, he always hears me.
Yeah, so for instance, I changed. What did I do for you the other day? What was it?
What, when you took Gavin to the chiropractor?
No, that's not what it was. I did something in the house.
You changed the light
I
bulb.
changed the light bulb. I know, right? But I changed the light bulb, and it was something else. Oh, it was the light bulb over the. It was the exhaust fan light bulb. She had told me to change this exhaust fan light bulb, and I just had not. And she said it again, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go change that light bulb, and I did. And in changing that light bulb, that did more than any gift I could have went out and bought her.
Absolutely.
At that moment. Not any gift. If I'd have went and bought her a new Louis Vuitton, that probably would have been better than the light bulb. But I could have went and bought her anything and brought it back to her. And you know what the next thing she would have said was?
Hope you change that light bulb.
When you going to change that light bulb? And I would have gotten mad and said, I cannot believe you're asking me about this light bulb when I just went and spent whatever amount of money on this gift. Well, she didn't want the gift.
Right.
She wanted the light bulb changed.
Right.
And when we start to hear our spouse and what they're really saying, it makes things so much easier. Not only did I change that light bulb, I changed 3 light bulbs in the bedroom. I changed 2 light bulbs in Gavin's room. And I'm pretty sure I did something else too. I was on fire that afternoon, whatever it was, but I was just...
Yeah.
I hadn't done anything since then. But I'm telling you, what did Kyle say?
He threw
I throw fudge rounds.
Yeah, he did it, Kristen, the other night. It's a red flag.
Things happen. So...
Did I?
100% you threw a battery at me.
Well, he threw a remote control at me one time and put a dent in the drywall at our old house. This was back before he found Jesus. He also kicked a 24-pack of toilet paper across the room one time, and then he had to clean it up.
It deserved it.
He showed it. He was mad. Yeah, that was before Christ.
That was a long time ago.
Before Christ. A long time 15 years ago.
I can remember kicking that pack of toilet paper like it was yesterday. Like, as I'm kicking it, I'm like, what are you doing, you idiot?
Cheyenne says she's got a Bluetooth light bulb.
Oh, all right. Nice.
That's interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think that's all I basically have, but Slade's got some stuff for y'all tonight, and I'm excited.
We're finna preach now. No, I just want to leave you guys with this tonight. We talk about our what's the word that people use? Our horizontal relationships, right? We talk about the relationships we have with the people around us. But those relationships, at the time, Kristen, toilet paper was not expensive. We're talking 15 years ago. They were giving it away. Practically. But we talk about our relationships with our wives and our spouse, our kids, our parents, and that's the people around us. And those relationships will never be what you want them to be until you get your vertical relationship right with Jesus Christ. And what she's been talking about tonight is how to love your spouse properly. And what I just want to touch on really quick, I just have 3 kind of quick points. We have to know how to love Jesus properly. If we can't love Jesus properly, then we can't love the people around us properly. If we can't accept Jesus's love for us properly, then we will never accept the love of the people around us properly. So how do we love Jesus properly? It's really the same way that you would get to love your spouse, right? You have to get to know them. You have to get to know your spouse. I would never love her the way I love her had I never took the time to get to know her. So you have to get to know Jesus. You have to get in the scripture. You have to read through the gospels. You have to read all about him and know all about him. And once you know him, you can't help but love him and fall deeper in love with him. Once you know what he has done for you, then you can't help but devote yourself more to him. one of I knew that she was the person I was going to marry when I saw what she had done for me. I came home one day and I don't know where I had been.
You had been at school.
At school, okay. My room was a mess. This is when I still live with my parents. My room was a disaster. I mean, there was clothes up to your hip, and it just trash and cups and just
ravioli
bowls. You name it, it was there. It was a disaster.
Disgusting.
And I came home from school, and she had cleaned that room. She had not even told me verbally yet that she loved me. But there was no doubt in my mind by seeing what she had done for me that she loved me. And in response, I devoted myself to her. Jesus died for you. And in response, we should devote ourselves to him. So we have to get to know them deeply. We have to get to know Jesus deeply. We have to develop a personal relationship with Jesus. How do we do that? By prayer. By prayer. We got to pray to him every single day. We have to have a conversation with him every single day. I say this, a conversation is a two-way street. You don't get to just talk to Jesus and tell him everything that you want.
Right.
That's not how a relationship works. You talk to him and you listen and he responds. You don't get to just make demands out of Jesus and think that's all he's good for. You don't get just to make demands out of your spouse and think that that's all that they're good for.
That's good.
You have conversations with them daily. You talk with them daily. And that is how you grow that personal relationship, that deeper relationship. You never know everything there is to know about someone. So the more you talk to Jesus, the more you get to know him. The more you talk to your spouse, the more you get to know them. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, we show our love for Jesus by our obedience to Jesus. What does Jesus say? If you love me, what does he say, Terry? If you love me, you will keep my commands. So if we're going to use the 5 love languages as an example, what is Jesus's love language? Acts of service. Acts of service. He wants you to serve. He wants you to be obedient. He wants you to do the things that he has said to do. In men's group last night, I used the example of Peter and Jesus. Jesus asked Peter, Peter, do you love me? Peter says, yes, I love you. And Jesus says what? Feed my lambs. Mm-hmm. So Peter says, yes, I love you. And Jesus says, okay, since you love me, do this. Then the second time, Jesus says, Peter, do you love me? Peter says, yes, I love you. And he says what? Take care of my sheep. Another command. And last time, Jesus says, do you love me? This time, if you read it, Peter gets his feelings hurt when Jesus asks him the third time. He says, gosh, why? You just don't believe that I love you or what? And so he says, yes, you know that I love you, Jesus. And he says, feed my sheep. So what is Jesus telling Peter? Peter, it doesn't matter what you say. Your words mean nothing to me, Peter. Mm-hmm. I will see that you love me by what you do. Your actions are what prove your love for someone, not what you say, not how many times you tell them I love you. If you tell them I love you over and over and over and over again, but your actions tell the exact opposite story, they will never believe what you are saying because your actions are telling the truth. And if your actions are saying to Jesus that you don't love him, then your actions to everyone else are going to be saying the same thing. You have to have that vertical relationship in line, and you have to be square with him before you ever think that you're going to get square with the people around you.
Yes, I agree.
I got that out pretty quick. I'm proud.
Actions speak louder than
Actions
words.
speak
Yes.
louder than words, Kristen. Yes.
And I believe that actions speak louder than words. And we have to prioritize our spouse and Christ. And, you know, I say all the time, once we put Christ in the middle of our marriage changed. We had been married, I don't know, 8 years, maybe, when we got saved, 7 years. And now we're coming up on just in a month and a half, it'll be 18 years. And, you know, once we put Christ in the middle of it, it was different. I would say it truly changed.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you ever wonder what to do, you can usually ask your spouse what they need. And that's
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like, but you just have to be open-minded. And I think sometimes we can't take the criticism in marriage.
Yeah. Ask your spouse, what do you need from me to feel loved better?
Yes. You have to actively listen to.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Christ, though. Like, as he said, you know, it's a conversation. Well, if you're not actively listening, if you're just running your mouth like the pagans, just wordy, 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 you're not going to hear him. Well, it's the same thing if your spouse is talking to you and they're trying to tell you something about, you know, what they're needing or whatever, and you're so caught up in yourself, then you're not going to hear him or her either.
Yeah, and I didn't hit my last point there, and that was to serve others. Christ wants you to serve others.
Well, that's what I was basically saying.
Yes, that's what brought me
I
back
didn't
to
even
it.
know that
He
was on
wants
there.
you to serve others. He wants you to serve someone else besides yourself. Get yourself out of your own way. And when we serve others, we bring glory to him. When we serve our spouse, we bring ultimate glory to him. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He laid himself down for the church. He served he served his bride to the death. Will you serve yours?
Yeah. And, you know, I think that sometimes wives have a hard time with obedience. I know I used to. I used to really struggle with that.
I got her in line now, though.
Yeah, I guess. But once I figured out that he loved me and he cared about me and it was for my well-being, I could submit. But until then, it wasn't happening because I was taking care of myself at that point. Kelsey, where can I get Slade's sweatshirt for Jordan? I'll send you the link.
She'll send you a sweatshirt, Kelsey.
Oh, I'll send you a sweatshirt, Kelsey.
Yeah.
He wears an extra large.
His birthday's. When's his birthday?
It's in January. No,
No,
it's
it's
not.
like it's
April.
It's April. Yeah.
Yeah,
his
it's in
birthday's
April.
coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got him.
So, anyways, I hope that helped you guys. I wish that someone would have told me those things.
Yeah. But, you know,
Some things you have to live and learn.
yeah, you can get wisdom. I won't say anything else after this. You can get wisdom one of two ways. You can listen to somebody that's already been through it, or you can go through it yourself.
So true. And I would say, I think it's fair to say we have a really good marriage. Um, I see a lot of marriages around me, and I'm like, this is good. It could be April 30th. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was my sister's birthday.
Okay. Men need
Men,
to be worth
that's exactly
submitting
right,
to.
Terry.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't want to keep going too long on this, but men walk around like, oh, my wife needs to submit to me, but you ain't worth submitting to. You are not a prize. You are not a catch, and I wouldn't stay with you 5 seconds. The fact that she's been with you 5 years is astonishing, and
Yes.
people need these men, these soft men, need to get over themselves. Get over yourself. You're not anything special.
Yeah.
The fact that she's with you is a testament to her, not to you. And so get over it. I'm done.
You are pretty special.
I am.
But
I'm
I
talking
get what
about.
you're
I'm
saying.
talking about them. I ain't talking about me.
Yeah, he is pretty special. But
You're pretty special too.
yeah, thanks. But anyway, I hope that helped. We love you guys. Hope y'all have a good night.
Love you guys. See you next Thursday.